My GF painted me as an abusive monster online. To strangers, while she was cheating, I played it cool and exposed her so brutally her entire life collapsed. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these, but here we are. I've been with my girlfriend for a few years, thought things were solid, then I stumbled on something online that flipped everything upside down. Let's just say she wasn't who I thought she was. And the way it all unraveled was equal parts insane and, oddly, satisfying. I, David, 31 male, been with my girlfriend Samantha, 28 female, for almost 3 years. We moved in together about a year ago, and up until recently, I thought things were running smooth. Bills paid, place clean. She wasn't nagging me every day about dumb stuff. You know, normal relationship crap. I wasn't planning to write some long post about my life, but a few nights ago I tripped over something so ridiculous that I honestly couldn't sit on it. So here's how it went down. I was at my buddy's place helping him set up his new gaming rig. Dude doesn't know how to plug in a monitor without Googling it, so I'm basically tech support for free. Anyway, Samantha had told me she was at her book club and that it might run late. That already sounds fake to me because she's never finished a book in her life unless you count reading half a BuzzFeed quiz. But whatever, I wasn't suspicious yet. I roll back home around midnight, open up our shared laptop to check some stuff, and boom, Facebook is already logged in on her account. I'm not a snooper, but when you see a notification from something called Sisters Before Misters Private, your brain goes, what the hell is this? The preview showed, my boyfriend has been emotionally unavailable lately. So of course I clicked. And holy hell, I was not ready for the fanfiction I found. Samantha had been writing these long posts about me being controlling, emotionally manipulative, and even sprinkling in words like narcissist. She used her real name and photo, like she was writing her own villain origin story starring me. And these weren't little rants. No, she was pumping out episodes. One post said I flew into a rage because she wanted to grab drinks after work. The truth? I only asked if she could text me when she got there, so I knew she was safe. That was the rage. Another one painted me as financially controlling because I asked about an $800 purse charge on our joint credit card. I didn't yell, didn't throw a tantrum. I just said, hey, maybe let's budget this stuff. And she literally agreed. In her version, I made her feel like a child for daring to buy something nice. I'm reading all this with my jaw on the floor. Then I scrolled down to the comments, and that's where it got worse. Hundreds of women replying like they were Oprah giving relationship advice. Leave him, sis. You deserve real love, girl. Classic abuser patterns. Don't ignore the red flags. Meanwhile, I'm the guy who cooks, cleans, pays bills on time, and literally fixes the Wi-Fi whenever it drops. Apparently, that qualifies me for the future abuser starter pack. I sat there for 2 straight hours going through her posts. Weeks of this crap. Each one made me sound progressively worse, like she was writing a script for Lifetime's Monster Boyfriend special. The most recent one had her basically saying she's ready to find real love with someone else. That was the moment my stomach turned. I screenshotted everything. Every post, every comment, every time someone told her she was so brave for sharing. By 3 a.m., I had a whole folder on the desktop with 47 screenshots. She was still out, so I'm just sitting on the couch staring at the evidence like some wannabe detective who stumbled into a plot twist. She walked in around 3:15, looking shocked that I was awake. She started giving me this detailed story about the book they discussed and which friend said what. I nodded along while thinking, lady, you can't even fake a book report properly. I didn't confront her. Not that night. I just filed it away. Act normal. Play dumb. And here's the part that really messes with me. I started asking myself if maybe I was the guy she was describing. Like, did I black out and turn into this raging control freak without realizing it? But then I replayed the situations in my head. I wasn't abusive. I wasn't manipulative. I was literally asking about dinner times and budgets. So the question was, if she thinks I'm this terrible boyfriend, why stay? Why not just dump me? Why invent this fake narrative for strangers online? The only explanation that made sense was ugly. She was laying the groundwork for something. Either cheating or prepping for an exit where she gets to walk away as the victim. That night, I went to bed with a pit in my stomach, screenshot saved, and a plan forming. I wasn't about to storm in guns blazing. No, I was gonna stay cool. Let her think she's clever. Let her dig her own hole while I collected every damn receipt. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. When someone starts painting you as the villain, they're usually hiding the fact they're the real problem. And Samantha? She was writing herself into a role she was about to regret. I didn't even have to wait long for the universe to hand me backup. The very next day, I got help from the last person I expected. One of her own friends. It was around lunch the following afternoon. I was sitting at my desk trying to focus on work, but all I could think about were those screenshots. That folder of proof was like a time bomb on my laptop. I didn't know when or how I'd use it yet, but I knew it was only a matter of time. Then there's a knock on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting a package or anyone to stop by, so I checked the peephole. Standing there was a tall woman, blonde, probably around 30. She looked like she was about to either sell me solar panels or deliver bad news. I opened the door and she goes, "Hi, you're David, right? I'm Rachel. I'm a close friend of Samantha's. I'd heard the name before, but never met her. The way she was fidgeting with her hands told me this wasn't a casual hello. She asked if we could talk, and I figured why not. We walked down the street to a little coffee shop. She ordered tea, barely touched it, and kept glancing around like someone might overhear. Finally, she leaned in and said, I think you need to know some things about Samantha. Not gonna lie, my heart was already pounding. When a friend of your girlfriend starts a conversation like that, it's never, she's been planning your surprise birthday party. Rachel explained she'd been part of that same Facebook group where Samantha was posting. She'd joined months earlier for support during her divorce, so she was in there legitimately. Then she started recognizing Samantha's posts. "I couldn't believe what I was reading," she said, "because the way she's described you to me in person was always positive. Like, she told me you were supportive, funny, you cooked for her, you were planning a future together. Then online she's making you sound like some monster." Hearing that from someone else hit different. It confirmed I wasn't crazy. Then Rachel hit me with the part that made my stomach twist. "And David, I think she's seeing someone else." I froze. I asked her to explain, and she said she'd seen Samantha last week at a new downtown restaurant with a guy. Not just sitting across the table, holding hands, kissing, acting like a couple. I asked her to describe the guy. Rachel said he was older, maybe mid-30s, dark hair, sharp dresser, definitely not one of our mutual friends. Then she mentioned his name, Marcus. She'd heard Samantha bring him up in passing at some networking thing. The more she talked, the worse it got. Rachel pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of texts between her and Samantha. In them, Samantha had literally asked Rachel to cover for her if I ever called looking for her. She even gave Rachel lines to use, like she was directing a play. Stuff like, "Just tell him I'm grabbing coffee with you if he asks." I need space to think about the relationship. Rachel admitted she thought Samantha meant she was meeting another female friend, or maybe talking to a counselor. She had no clue it was another guy. By this point, my brain was buzzing. Cheating? Fake abuse stories? Recruiting her own friends as alibis? Samantha wasn't just playing with fire. She was pouring gasoline on herself. The wildest part? Rachel looked genuinely upset. Not for herself. She wasn't the one being cheated on, but because she realized Samantha had lied to her too. "I feel like she's used me," she said. "And honestly, I can't keep covering for her now that I know the truth." I sat there, staring into my coffee, trying to process. I wasn't surprised Samantha was shady. Those Facebook posts were proof of that. But hearing about Marcus, seeing Rachel's screenshots, that was confirmation. This wasn't in my head. So I told Rachel straight up, "I already found the posts. I've got screenshots of everything. I think you just handed me the missing piece." She nodded, almost relieved, like she'd been carrying a secret too heavy for her. We agreed to work together. She'd keep me in the loop if Samantha asked for more alibis. I'd keep collecting evidence quietly. Rachel even offered to testify if it ever came to that Samantha asked her to lie. By the time we left the coffee shop, I felt a weird mix of anger and calm. Anger because, yeah, the betrayal was clear now. Calm because I had backup. I wasn't just some paranoid boyfriend guessing at shadows. I had a witness. I had receipts. When I walked back into my apartment, I opened that folder of screenshots and added Rachel's text proof right on top. The puzzle was starting to come together. Samantha thought she was being clever, building her fake victim story online and sneaking around with Marcus. But what she didn't realize was that every step she took was another step into a trap she didn't even see. And me? I wasn't going to confront her yet. Not when the game was this lopsided in my favor. I already had the screenshots from Facebook, now Rachel's proof stacked on top. But if I wanted to end this the right way, I needed undeniable evidence. The kind you can shove in someone's face and leave them speechless. So I went into full detective mode. Not the weird trench coat kind, but smart and efficient. First stop, our phone bill. Since it's under my account, I logged in and pulled the last month's records. And there it was. One number popping up over and over, sometimes 30 times a day. Morning, late at night, even while she was supposedly at book club. Not saved in her contacts, which told me she was trying to keep it low profile. I did a quick reverse lookup. The number came back under a guy named Marcus. Same name Rachel had mentioned. His address? A luxury high-rise downtown. Definitely not the type of place Samantha could swing on her own. Bingo. Next move. I checked Find My, because she'd left her location sharing on with me. Every time she said she was out with the girls, her phone was sitting at that downtown complex. And like clockwork, she'd text me from there, pretending she was at some cozy cafe discussing plot twists in a book she never even owned. It was so sloppy it was insulting. If you're gonna lie, at least put some effort in. I kept my cool though. No confrontations, no tipping her off. I knew if I waited, I'd get my shot. And it came fast. The following Thursday, I called in sick to work. I parked across the street from that shiny apartment complex around 5 p.m. Traffic was buzzing, people coming home from the office. I leaned back in my car, hoodie up, low profile. Yeah, I know, it sounds dramatic, but trust me, if you've ever been cheated on, you'd understand the adrenaline. At 6:30, Samantha's car rolled into the garage like clockwork. I knew her license plate, the little dent on the side, no mistaking it. I waited. Around 7:15, she walked out of the building. And right next to her, Marcus. Exactly how Rachel described him. Mid-30s, expensive suit, slick haircut, trying way too hard to look like a Wall Street guy. He had his hand on the small of her back like he owned her. They headed down the street to some fancy steakhouse. I stayed behind, phone camera ready. Snapped photos of them walking together, holding hands, laughing. Right before they went inside, he leaned in and kissed her. I got that too. Here's the kicker. At 8:45, while I'm sitting there with photos of her swapping spit with Mr. Finance Bro, she texts me, "Hey, still at book club. Might be late. Don't wait up." The audacity actually made me laugh. She was out here living in her own rom-com while I had her lies timestamped in HD. I didn't confront them in the restaurant. No dramatic scene, no flipping tables. That's rookie stuff. Instead, I took my photos, went home, and added them to my growing evidence folder. Screenshots, phone records, location logs, now fresh pictures. By the time she strolled in at 11 p.m., smelling like overpriced steak, I was sitting on the couch playing it cool. She launched into another one of her fake book club recaps. Apparently, they debated character motivations. I nodded, threw in a sarcastic, "Sounds deep," and let her talk. Meanwhile, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus that she didn't notice. My stomach was burning, but I didn't let it show. That's the thing. Guys mess up by blowing up too early. You catch a whiff of cheating, and suddenly you're screaming, demanding answers, throwing clothes on the lawn. That just gives them the upper hand. They'll cry, twist it, flip it back on you. But when you play it smart, when you let them think they're winning while you line up every receipt, that's how you crush someone who thought they were outsmarting you. Over the next week, I built my case like a lawyer prepping for trial. Phone bill printouts, GPS screenshots with timestamps, photos of her with Marcus zoomed in, clear as day. I even screen recorded her book club text to me while her phone was parked at his building. By Sunday, my folder wasn't just a pile of evidence, it was a career-ending portfolio. Samantha wanted to write me as the villain online? Fine. But my version had dates, times, and pictures that couldn't be argued with. And the more I stared at those files, the more I realized I wasn't even mad about the cheating anymore. Don't get me wrong, it sucked. But what really lit me up was the smear campaign. The posts where she turned me into some abusive monster so strangers could cheer her on while she snuck off with Marcus. That wasn't just betrayal, that was character assassination. And when someone tries to destroy your reputation, you don't just walk away. You make sure the truth hits so hard they can't rewrite it. That's where my head was. No yelling, no begging for answers. I was past that. My goal now was simple. Let her dig until the hole was deep enough, then bury her with her own lies. And she kept digging, like it was her full-time job. By Tuesday, Samantha had dropped another post in her little support group, this time saying I'd gotten cold and was withholding affection as punishment. She even added some line about me isolating her from her friends. Funny thing is, she was isolating herself with Marcus's lips while I was the idiot fixing her Wi-Fi and making sure rent got paid. The irony wasn't lost on me, but instead of getting mad, I saw the opportunity. Every lie she wrote made the truth sharper. She was practically handing me the rope to hang her story with. That night, I called Rachel and told her it was time to go public. She agreed instantly. She'd been just as disgusted reading those posts as I was. We decided the only way to do it right was to hit her where she thought she was safe, that Facebook group where she'd been spinning her fake abuse novel. Rachel suggested we make a truth file that laid everything out clean. Not just he said, she said, actual side-by-side comparisons. On one side, Samantha's posts about me raging, screaming, controlling. On the other side, screenshots of our texts, photos of her with Marcus, GPS logs showing her book club location was the high-rise apartment. Add timestamps and dates so nobody could claim it was fake. So that's what we did. We spent hours organizing the evidence into a folder that looked like something you'd hand a judge. I wanted it airtight, no wiggle room. If Samantha tried to spin it, she'd just look dumber. And the finishing touch? I decided I'd post it using her own account. She was still logged in on our shared laptop. The same carelessness that let me find the post in the first place was going to be her undoing. Wednesday morning, I sat down, cracked my knuckles, and started typing. Then I clicked. Hi everyone, this is David, the boyfriend Samantha has been writing about. I know this is unusual, but you all deserve to know the truth. Samantha has been having an affair with a man named Marcus for weeks. The stories she's posted about me being abusive, controlling, and manipulative are fabricated to justify her cheating and gain your sympathy. I am not perfect, but I have never been abusive. I've attached the evidence below so you can see for yourself. Then I dropped in a curated set of 23 files. The clearest screenshots of her lies, texts between us, GPS data, and photos of her kissing Marcus while texting me book clubs running late, the whole timeline. Before I hit post, I reread it twice. It wasn't angry, it wasn't emotional, just clear, direct, and brutal. Then I clicked. The effect was instant. Within minutes, comments started pouring in. At first, confusion, then anger. Not at me, at Samantha. Women in that group were furious. Some admitted they'd always had doubts about her posts, but didn't want to risk doubting a victim. Others said they'd shared their own trauma in support of her, and now felt betrayed. The admin chimed in and flat out banned her, saying her behavior was a violation of the group's purpose. By noon, the post had over 300 comments and had already been screenshotted and shared outside the group. Twitter, Instagram, even local gossip pages. Samantha thought she was building a fan club. Instead, she'd gone viral for being a liar. And then came the cherry on top, Chloe. Around 1 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, and a woman's voice said, "Is this David?" "I'm Chloe. I think we need to talk." Chloe turned out to be Marcus's girlfriend. Someone had sent her the post. She thanked me for putting the evidence out there because it confirmed what she'd suspected for weeks. "I knew something was off," she said, "but I didn't think he was capable of this." She told me she was leaving him immediately. So in one morning, Samantha lost her fake victim stage, her support group, and her affair partner's relationship. That's what I call efficiency. That evening, I texted Samantha, "Move your things out by Friday." No explanation, no yelling, just instructions. She came home later trying to act normal, but I could tell she'd already seen the fallout. Her face was pale, her eyes darting around like she was waiting for me to explode. Instead, I just sat there calm as ever, scrolling on my phone. "You posted in the group," she said finally, her voice sharp. "Yeah," I said, not even looking up. I figured the truth should get a chance to speak too. Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to form a comeback, but nothing landed. She stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door, and I heard drawers yanking open, probably checking what I'd boxed already. But the beauty of it was, I didn't need to scream, didn't need to explain. Her little empire of lies had crumbled in front of everyone. And it wasn't because I argued louder, it was because I let her words destroy her. By Friday, her stuff was in boxes by the door. She showed up with her sister to grab it, glaring at me like I just ruined her life. And maybe I had, but she was the one who wrote the script. I just shared the ending. Samantha loaded her last box into the back of her sister's car and stood there like she was waiting for me to crumble. She gave me this smug little smirk like, "You'll regret this. I was the best thing that ever happened to you." I just leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed, and said, "No, finding out who you really are was the best thing that ever happened to me." She hated that. You could see it in her face. Entitled people can't handle it when you don't beg for them back. She muttered something under her breath, slid into the passenger seat, and they drove off. I shut the door, went inside, and for the first time in weeks, I felt my shoulders drop. Quiet. Peace. No fake book clubs, no sneaky phone buzzing at 2 a.m., just me and my couch. But the fallout wasn't just in my apartment, it was everywhere. By Saturday, mutual friends were already reaching out. A buddy of mine texted, "Dude, did you see what's going on with Samantha online?" Yeah, I'd seen it. Apparently, screenshots of my truth post had made the rounds on Instagram. The comments were brutal. People weren't just calling her out for cheating, they were roasting the way she tried to weaponize fake abuse stories. One woman even commented, "This is why real victims aren't believed, because of people like her." That one stuck. Samantha thought she was clever, but in reality, she'd trashed her own reputation beyond repair. Her sister texted me that night too. She apologized on behalf of the family, said she had no idea Samantha had gone that far. I kept it short and polite, not my circus anymore. Monday came, and I walked into work expecting side eyes or awkward whispers. Instead, a couple coworkers clapped me on the back like I'd just won a game. One guy said, "Man, I saw that post. You handled it like a champ." Another said, "Smart move with the receipts." Most people would have lost it. That's when it hit me. Staying calm, strategic, sarcastic, that's what made me look strong, not pathetic. Meanwhile, Samantha was out there flailing. She tried some half-baked damage control post, claiming I violated her privacy and proved her right by exposing her. Problem was, she had no credibility left. The evidence folder crushed anything she tried to spin. She got maybe a dozen pity likes while the comment section chewed her up. And I'll admit, I had some fun with it. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Definitely. Before she even came back for her stuff, I'd already canceled every shared thing she'd been writing on. Gym membership? Gone. Streaming accounts? Password changed. Amazon Prime? Nope. Even the joint Spotify where she made all those moody breakup playlists? Deleted. When her sister carried out the last box, I tossed an old spare router into the bag. She can set up her own now. Rachel checked in a few times too. She thought it was hilarious that Samantha was trying to rewrite the story while screenshots were flying around like wildfire. She really thought she could build a victim fan club while sneaking around with Marcus, Rachel said. Now she's the punchline. Speaking of Marcus, word got back to me that Chloe dumped him immediately after seeing the proof. She didn't just leave quietly either. She apparently lit him up in front of his coworkers, called him a fraud, and packed her bags the same night. By Wednesday, Marcus was seen eating lunch alone in the same steakhouse he used to parade Samantha around in. Karma doesn't always move fast, but when it does, it's a show. As for Samantha, she wasn't taking the L gracefully. One mutual friend told me she was calling me vindictive and cruel for humiliating her online. Like she forgot she was the one who wrote 47 fake posts about me being an abuser. The entitlement was off the charts. A few days later, I got a long text from her. Pages of rambling. It started with anger. "You destroyed my life." Switched to self-pity. I was just confused. Then pivoted into begging. "We can work this out if you just take it down." I didn't reply. Left it unread. That silence said more than any clever comeback could. By the end of the week, Samantha had become radioactive. Friends who used to hype her up stopped returning her calls. A couple of her coworkers apparently saw the screenshots too, and she got pulled into some HR meeting about conduct unbecoming. The girl who thought she was going to rewrite history ended up rewriting her own resume. And me? I was chilling. Gym, work, gaming with the guys. I wasn't sitting around sulking. Every time I thought about her little Facebook stories, I laughed. She really thought she was painting me as the villain. Instead, she made me look like the calm, collected guy who exposed fraud without breaking a sweat. So yeah, Samantha wrote the script, but I was the director, and I decided how it ended. And as far as I was concerned, the show was over. But Samantha? She wasn't done. Entitled people rarely are. They don't know how to accept defeat. They thrash around, convinced they can spin the story one more time. I should have known she'd try something reckless. It started the following Monday at work. Around 2 p.m., the receptionist buzzes my extension. "David, there's a woman here asking to see you. She says she's your girlfriend and it's urgent." I knew instantly who it was. By the time I got to the lobby, Samantha was already mid-performance. Tears streaming, voice raised, telling anyone in earshot that I'd been stalking her, harassing her online, ruining her life. Clients waiting on couches were staring, coworkers whispering. It was embarrassing, not because I'd done anything wrong, but because she was so committed to her delusion. I stayed calm. I walked up and said, "Let's step outside and talk privately." That only made her louder. "See? He wants me alone so he can threaten me," she wailed. I could practically hear the popcorn popping in people's heads. At that point, I stopped engaging. I pulled out my phone and hit record. "Samantha, I haven't contacted you since you moved out. You're lying, and this is being documented." She froze for half a second, then doubled down, screaming even louder. Security escorted her out, but the damage was done. Later that afternoon, my boss called me into his office. He wasn't angry, but serious. David, I've known you 4 years. This doesn't line up with the man I know, but I need to ask, is this going to be an ongoing issue? I showed him the recording. He leaned back, watched her meltdown in real time, and just shook his head. Keep that. You might need it. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Everyone at your job thinks you're a stalker. This is just the beginning. No signature, but who else could it be? I screenshotted it immediately. Tuesday, I pulled our phone records. Guess what? 0 calls or texts from me to her since she left. But on her end, dozens. One day alone, she called me 47 times. She wasn't being stalked. She was the stalker. I stacked all this into my evidence folder and marched it down to the police station. The officer on duty listened, went through the files and said, "This isn't just drama anymore. This is harassment, possibly defamation. We'll be in touch." I thought maybe that would scare her into stopping. I was wrong. Wednesday morning, I walked into work and saw flyers taped to the walls of our parking garage and even the lobby. My photo, my name, and big bold letters, "Controlling Stalker." Be aware that was my breaking point. I ripped down what I could, photographed the rest, and went straight back to the station. This time, the cops didn't just nod. They took it seriously. Between the meltdown recording, the text messages, the call logs, and now the flyers, it was airtight. By Thursday, they told me a warrant was being issued for Samantha's arrest. They advised me to also file for a restraining order. So I did. Judge looked over the file, saw the evidence, and signed it without hesitation. Friday morning, I got a call from an officer. "Just letting you know, Samantha has been taken into custody." I can't describe the feeling. It wasn't joy exactly. More like relief mixed with a twisted sense of justice. She'd spent weeks painting me as some abuser, some monster, and now she was the one being escorted in handcuffs. Later that day, my attorney called. Samantha's lawyer wanted to talk about a resolution. Her criminal case ended in a plea deal for harassment, which included a 2-year no-contact order. Separately, our attorney signed a civil settlement where she admitted her workplace accusations were false and agreed to cover my legal fees and lost wages from being forced to take leave. Part of me wanted to reject it and let her face a full trial, but my lawyer advised that this deal got me everything I needed. My name cleared, protection, compensation, without dragging it out. So I agreed. By Friday, her lawyer had already sent a formal letter to my boss stating the accusations were false and made in emotional distress. Translation: she lied. Please don't fire David. My boss called me in, handed me the letter and said, "Glad this is behind you. We'll be tightening security in case she tries again." Back at my desk, coworkers gave me nods of respect. One guy said, "Man, she really thought she could flip the script on you. Now she's the one with a record." I smirked. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Meanwhile, Rachel texted me updates about Samantha. Word was she'd already lost her new apartment. Couldn't cover rent without Marcus helping her. And since Marcus had lost Chloe, he wasn't exactly in position to play sugar daddy anymore. Samantha ended up back at her parents' house, unemployed, reputation wrecked. As for Marcus, his little marketing consultancy took a hit. Chloe apparently blasted him to a few of his clients, and contracts started dropping. Last Rachel heard, he was crashing at his brother's place trying to rebuild. And me? I was back to normal life. Work solid, friends supportive, gym routine on point. If anything, the whole ordeal made me sharper. I learned that documentation is your best weapon. You don't win these battles by yelling. You win by staying calm, stacking receipts, and letting the truth do the heavy lifting. Samantha thought she was clever, that she could script me into a villain. Instead, she scripted herself into a mugshot. And the best part? I didn't even have to raise my voice. That was the moment I realized the game was finished. She'd played her last card, and it landed her in handcuffs instead of on some pity pedestal. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't waiting for the next shoe to drop. It had already dropped. On her head. Monday morning, I walked back into the office like nothing happened. My boss pulled me aside, handed me a copy of the letter from Samantha's lawyer admitting her accusations were false, and said, "Sorry you had to go through that. Glad you're back." That was it. No lectures, no side eyes. Clean slate. Coworkers were supportive too. A few asked quietly what really happened. I gave them the professional version. Breakup, false accusations, cleared by the police, end of story. I didn't trash Samantha, didn't need to. Everyone had already seen enough to know she was the problem. Some even joked that I should start giving masterclasses on keeping receipts. At lunch, one of my friends at work said, "You know what's funny? She spent all that time calling you controlling, and now she's the one with a restraining order controlling her every move." Couldn't have put it better myself. Meanwhile, Samantha's world was falling apart. Rachel kept me updated because, honestly, it was entertaining. Samantha had lost her apartment after missing rent, then got fired when HR found out about the arrest. Her parents reluctantly took her back in, but even they were embarrassed. Neighbors had seen the mugshot online. She tried to play the victim, claiming she'd been bullied and targeted, but no one was buying it. Even her old friends started ghosting her. Turns out when you weaponize fake abuse stories, people don't line up to defend you. Who knew? Marcus didn't exactly ride off into the sunset either. Chloe dumped him publicly, clients bailed on his business, and last I heard, he was couch surfing at his brother's place. Karma doesn't always come with a marching band, but this time it was loud enough for everyone to hear. The irony in all of it? I didn't even care about the cheating anymore. The part that cut deepest was her trying to turn me into a villain so she could justify it. She could have just broken up with me. Instead, she went for the nuclear option, and it blew up in her face. And here's the thing that made it satisfying for me. I never had to get loud, never had to chase her around, never begged her to come back. I stayed calm, collected, sarcastic when it fit, and let the truth do all the punching. That's the kind of ending guys respect, because it's not about whining, it's about strategy. Rachel and I kept talking after everything settled. Funny enough, she became a real friend through all this. Sometimes we grab coffee, sometimes we just laugh about how delusional Samantha really was. Rachel once said, she thought she was playing chess while you were playing checkers. But really, you were playing poker, and she didn't even realize she'd gone all in with no cards. Nailed it. Every now and then I still get random messages online from people who saw the Facebook post or the screenshots floating around. Some are supportive, others tell me I shouldn't have exposed her in the group. Doesn't matter. The people whose opinions count know the truth, and that's enough. One night, a buddy asked me if I regretted exposing her publicly instead of just dumping her quietly. My answer? Not a chance. Because if I'd just let it slide, her story would have lived on. She would have played the abuse survivor card for years, milking sympathy while I carried the label of the bad guy. Exposing her wasn't revenge, it was survival. And yeah, watching her implode afterward was just the bonus round. The last time Samantha tried to get to me was through a mutual friend. She sent a message saying, "Tell David I forgive him. Tell him he can still apologize, and maybe we can work things out." The delusion was insane. She went from fake victim to vengeful ex to thinking I'd grovel back. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. Sometimes silence is the loudest response. Life now? Peaceful. I wake up, go to work, hit the gym, hang with friends, no drama. The apartment feels bigger without her chaos bouncing off the walls. And every time my phone buzzes, I don't feel that little spike of suspicion anymore. Samantha once told me I'd regret losing her, that she was the best thing that ever happened to me. She was wrong. The best thing that ever happened to me was seeing her for who she really was before I wasted more of my life. And the second best thing? Watching her torch her own reputation while I didn't even have to raise my voice.